Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Movement to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. Excited for this week's guest to dig in on all things teams, team building, real estate, and just everything Phoenix. Please join me in welcoming Kelly Cook.
What's up, Katie? How you doing? I'm
I am
excited.
doing well. I'm excited to dig in with you today. For those that may not know you, who are you? How'd you get into real estate?
Which is probably a decent amount of people out there, right? No, so I'm out here in Phoenix, right? Everything Phoenix. That's how we roll in Phoenix, and trying to take down the entire area. It's tough though. It's a big city. It's a big city,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
but I got in real estate 18 years ago. 18 years ago, kind of stumbled into it. Honestly, that's kind of a crazy story, but stumbled into it, and I was coaching college football prior to that at Nebraska and Ole Miss, and got fired. Got fired indirectly, actually, twice because the head coach is fired.
Okay. Yep.
We're all gone.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything personally I did, but I guess if I'd have done better coaching, maybe we would have won more games. I don't know, like everybody else. But I got the axe, and so I was like, if I in most professions, if I chose to work 95 hours a week, which is about what I was averaging,
Yeah.
you'd probably be pretty successful, right? And so then I stumbled upon real estate and 18 years ago, and have been doing it ever since out here in Phoenix, Scottsdale area.
For sure. Yeah, I find that a lot in sports, right? Like the head coach gets fired, and then everyone goes. That was part of the coaching staff, which I feel like you'd want to come in and try to see if some of the staff would be good or not. But that's not normally from college up to pro and everything. It's not normally how things roll, right?
No, it's brutal. Like everybody has their guys, right, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? The peeps, and so they owe opportunities to these people too, and I get it. But man, it's tough for the people who are there. And then it got like you see the side that that public doesn't see.
Yeah.
So average fans like, oh yeah, maybe they didn't like the coach, right? He got fired. I'm glad, whatever. But the part inside the walls of the football office, you see a lot of players that these coaches recruited.
Yeah.
And some of these players, they recruited them from areas that, their home life wasn't very good. The area, the quality of life they had in inner city, whatever, maybe wasn't very good. And football was kind of their escape. And so they got to know this recruiting coach pretty well,
Yeah.
almost like a father figure to an extent. And some of these players' lives. And then all of a sudden, the AD booster, whatever club, all of a sudden comes out of nowhere and says, you're fired because you didn't win enough games. So you see some emotional aspect too of that. And that's rough. That's rough. I mean, now you have the transfer portal and these other things that people can maybe get out pretty quick on. But back then it was it still is, I'm sure, to an extent, right? It's never easy. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to dig in a little bit on the athletic side of things before we dig into real estate.
Yeah.
Just because over your shoulder for those that are watching, you see it, but for those that are, listening, I know you played college football, right?
Yeah.
Prior to coaching, and have I think done Ironmans.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get into a little bit of like the athletic mindset and stuff like that before we get into the real estate mindset. And so did you play sports growing up like your entire life, or when did you kind of get into sports?
Yeah, I did. And I just kind of liked it, so there you go. But I love the competition. I was little, I didn't know it, but I just love the aspect of competing and getting out. Now, the interesting part is I grew up very poor. So there wasn't much to do. And so when you're a kid, you want to do something, right? Well, there was Nintendo and all that stuff, right? But I didn't have one. I didn't have one. We had a black and white, small little TV in the house. That was it. Rabbit ears. And so like you had to go outside and just do something. And so that's kind of what started, honestly. And so I think it's the best thing possible that someone could do. It doesn't matter whether they have a lot of money or not.
Yeah.
Is get outside and do that. Obviously, if you come from better means, then as a child, your parents might provide you with a couple of things like these iPads that you can play games on, and all these Nintendo. But and truth be told, that's a struggle to an extent with my kids, right? So I'm trying to get them, and without like forcing it down their throats because then they'll get burned out and all that stuff, right? I don't want that either. But trying to walk that fine line of really encouraging them to compete and play sports, growing up at a small age, and to do that, I'm coaching as much as I can my three kids. And so I just think the athletic thing, you can't get a better scenario for life growing up, or what life's going to be like, because in everything you do, there's competition. So I just love the athletics and the sports side of things.
Well, and so kind of drawing the parallels between athletics and teamwork and growing up playing sports and real estate, have you found that people that have played sports are better, agents on the team or in y'all's, kind of recruiting process and interview process is part of that? Does that play any part of that in that recruiting and onboarding?
That's a great question. Matter of fact, I don't know if anyone's ever asked that question before, but it is 100%. So one of the first questions we ask when we sit across the table from an agent who might want to join our team, whatever, is, tell me about your background, obviously growing
Hmm.
up in school. And most importantly, did you play a team sport, high school or below? And we even go like
Yeah.
junior high, 8th grade or below. Because
Yeah.
some people may, they get in high school, like whatever, right? But like if you did, even 8th grade or below, you still remember that, when you're in 8th grade. And so you have some understanding of what the team aspect means, that
Hmm.
we're way more powerful as a team together than we are as individuals. And so they understand how certain positions and players on teams have specific roles.
Yeah.
And they can still succeed even though they're just like, not like maybe the all-star person or the person who scores most points or whatever, right? They can still
Yeah.
succeed at a high level for being like a good defensive player or whatever it is. So yeah, absolutely. Heck yeah, that's one of the questions we ask.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see people's background and how it translates to real estate, but I always have found that people that have played sports, just have that a little bit more of a team mindset. And like I think that it's important too, like, if they were a golfer or a tennis player or something like that, it's a little different, right?
Yep.
Than, a soccer player, or football player, or someone that, I don't know about you, but a lot of my coaches, like, you made a mistake and everyone else had to run. Like that was one of those that you're like, all right, I'm never making that mistake again, kind of
Exactly.
moments.
The accountability part is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We had that. I love that. I still do that when I'm a coach now with the kids I'm coaching.
Yeah. I was also like, yeah, I would always have to run because I was like, I'd be like talking when they'd be like going over the drill for the day or something like that. So I got a lot of running in high school. It was good times, good times.
You were in shape though. You were in shape.
I mean, shit, almost everyone's in shape in high school, man.
I
Like,
know.
God,
Exactly.
what I would give to be able to, go like eat Taco Bell and then run 3 miles. Like I would die if
Oof.
I did that today.
I know.
Anyways, I feel like we're getting a little off track here. So, you've
Uh,
been in real estate for 18 years. How long of that time have you had a team? Like, when did you start your team?
I think it was 5 years into it.
Okay.
5 years, yeah. Yeah, I got
And
in
so,
no 5, yeah.
okay. So, if you were giving advice to someone that, has been in real estate for maybe around that time, right? But they think it's time to start a team, what advice would you give to them, like, as they're embarking on this new journey of being a team leader?
Who are some good okay, first of all, because I feel so strongly about this, right? And there's not a whole lot. There's different roadmaps out there, right?
Yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
this website, this was white paper called buildyourrealestateteam.com. If you go there, you can get it's like literally a foundational step by step, do this step first, do the second step second, and so on and so forth, of trying to build a team somewhat effectively, right? And it's only like
Yeah.
a couple pages long, so it's not like some boring long read, but definitely check that out. But best thing you could do, in my opinion, is fail forward fast. Fail forward fast. You got to get out there and take some action and actually try things, implement and execute, and fail forward fast. The second thing I would say, just off the top of my head, I'm just going here, would be you got to hire obviously that administrative assistant first. And here's what everyone messes up. The second hire, everyone almost does, is like another agent, right? Another buyer's agent. Why? Because they don't cost anything until you actually, I mean, they do, but not directly, right? Now they're on payroll,
Yeah.
right? So everyone does that. And I did it. I did the same thing. I messed it up too. That's from that standpoint. But really what should happen is that second hire should be another administrative assistant. And the reason why is for two main reasons. Number one, now hopefully the first person you hired is good, and he or she will then you give them the reins of the responsibility of hiring
Yep.
that second person. So now they already
Okay.
have the leadership aspect going, right? They're responsible for that person. If that person leaves for some reason or stinks, they have to fire and hire that person. And so you're prepping them for this like operations director role,
Yep.
eventually as you scale. Number one, see if you have the right person there too. And then the second thing would be because no one is going to sell better than you. I mean, if you're lucky, you get a good agent on your team, you're going to operate 80 to 85% capacity.
Yeah.
but you're the best salesperson. That's why you are in the position to hire some people, because you're making some revenue and you're controlling some of your expenses, but you're running out of time. So you run as hard as you can on the sales side while they support everything else operationally and marketing standpoint. And then when that is up and you literally are running out of time because you're maximizing all of it, then that's when you start to scale on the sales side of the team.
How many people do you think, or what percentage of people do you think hire a buyer's agent first?
Actually,
because I know I did.
Yeah, before an assistant.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I didn't do that. I was as bad as you. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Kelly. Just come on my podcast and shit on my business. Wonderful. We have admin members now, asshole.
Who, by the way, are pretty good. I met a couple of them, right? Or I think they were at the Blueprint, right? So that was cool. Anyways, I think probably over 50%, right? Probably over 70%, honestly. And like 99% of them then will hire the buyer's agent second if they hired the admin first.
Well, and that's what, like, I've actually never heard that before. The hire the admin, then hire another admin. And I think that it's true, right? When you think about what the highest and best use of your time is, when you think about all of like the catchphrases and things that people say about building a team, that, seeing if someone could be a good fit for an operations director role, I think is huge. A lot of times you hire, that admin and it's like an admin assistant. And like, until you really push them on, if they can hire, if they can train, if they can really run this business for you, like, you're never going to know. And yeah, then you can be out slanging houses.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you go to even more specific on it. That second person really, because the first person is doing everything, right, on the operations side. And the second person, really, their main role should be the marketing side.
Yeah.
Because, and you keep that first person handling the operational side, including like listing coordination, transaction coordination, until you get bigger and can hire that third person, whatever, right, that can handle the coordination of things. Yeah. And they become more operations only, then that's great. But that will take a little while because now you have to have more sales at that point.
For sure.
So yeah.
I like that progression. I like that a lot. That's little far down the road for me to do that today. But if I'm coaching anyone on starting their team, I'm definitely going to just toss that extra nugget in there on the adding the second admin. I like that a lot. I feel like we could just end the podcast now and people would be like, all right, I got a really good nugget. But we are not. We are going to continue on because I know people are sitting on the edge of their seats right now.
That's right.
The next. Yeah. But wait, there's more.
Wait.
So when you are hiring agents, one of the things you mentioned is like, tell me about sports or what you did kind of, as far as extracurricular activities. Something that we haven't said in a while, but extracurricular activities like growing up and stuff like that. What are some other key things that you look for when you're hiring sales agents to your team?
I mean, the first thing is going to be integrity. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah,
if you don't have that, then man, that's tough. That's hard to kind of determine up front.
Yeah. Sometimes you can tell immediately, right?
Yeah, you can, no doubt. Absolutely. You can paraphrase some questions in the interview process, right? But outside that's tough. The second thing is motivation. And that one's even actually tougher than I thought it was too. I thought I would know the motivational aspect by asking a couple questions and frankly, not even asking questions sometimes just knowing their background, where they are currently in their stage of life. For example, I had a guy on my team years ago that, he had a daughter, married. He was probably in his early 40s, mid 40s at the time. And he's working as a waiter at a really nice restaurant. So he's making decent money. But, you're working all the weekend nights, right? It's where most of the tips are in the business and all that stuff, right? So he was trying to transition. Cool, yeah. I get it. His wife, was working, but didn't like her. She wanted to switch jobs and all this stuff. But he wanted some more stability from that standpoint and freedom to be with his daughter, who was like, 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that. Okay. Anyways, I'm sitting there going, okay, this guy he had a radio voice, right? He had a voice.
I love how you lower he had a radio voice.
Yeah, I can't even do it. I don't have the voice.
Yeah, but I get it though.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, man, on the phone, this guy's going to be good. And he's polished. He's going to show up and he's going to, let's be honest, when you're older in real estate, that's one of the benefits of getting old is being real estate because you just look the part, right? You may have never sold a house. And so this is going to be great. And yet when he came into the office and to do some lead generation activities, things of that nature, he just didn't do it. He would fart around the email. He'd walk around, talk to people, whatever, right? Distract other people too as well, who are looking for an excuse not to do their business as
Yeah.
well. And then next thing you know, he left one day of the team. This is probably after like 6 months and maybe even 7 or 8. And he left. And so we always have a talk with him, but he's going to leave. And he was great. He had a great conversation, but he said something that I'll never forget. And he goes, and I'm like, hey, why'd you do this? Why are you taking off? Where are you going? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah, I'm going here. I'm going to do this, try to be individual, da, da, da. I go, okay, it's cool. And he goes, and I go, but Scott, you came in here and like, you didn't really like apply yourself. Why? He goes, yeah, I don't know. I guess you just can't force motivation. And I was like, and he said it like, kind of like jokingly, but like it was so true. And I go, the light bulb just went off. And I go, you know what? That is so true. And here I had been for the last amount of years, because I know success leaves clues, and I know that if you do a certain thing in the right environment, most people are going to thrive and do the things they don't like to do really well. And he said that, and I go, you know what? You're right. And so we parted way, and it was all cordial and great, and we're still friends to this day, actually. But I go, you know what, guys? Announcement to the team tomorrow. You guys can come in or not come in. I don't care. You can run your business in Maui for all I like at this point, right? The game plan's not changing. The strategy is going to be there. You have the tools to still tap into and be resources for you. Yet, if you're going to choose not to tap into them, I can't worry about that anymore, because I'm starting to suffer my mental, it's starting to go down, because I'm getting frustrated, because I want it more for you than sometimes you want it for yourself. So that is the hard part, the motivation.
That's so tough. I feel like sometimes I want success more for my agents, or I want them to sell more houses than they want to sell,
Yeah.
And so it still is difficult to this day. I'm not going to pretend like I have it all down, but I know that has been something in the past that's like a difficult thing to kind of manage, right? Expectations and reality.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it comes down to one or two things when you're hiring agents. It comes down to you're in the side of the fence that says, hey, look, listen, this person, you're trying to read everything. Let's have 3 interviews. Let's do the personality profile assessments on this person. Let's see if they comb their hair, brush their teeth, and all this stuff, right? And then let's hire them. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Or opposite side is, hey, I don't care if the guy's missing 4 teeth, in the front of his mouth, and and he does, and he never brushes teeth, and his hair's all disheveled or whatever. Bring him on because he has a real estate license, and then have some sort of mechanisms in place during the onboarding process, the first 30 days, to see if he or she's going to cut it. That, because the reality is we've done both, Katie, and the reality is I still don't think there's a wrong or right answer. But you got to stick with one and make sure that, because I've had the person who literally showed up and you're like, I'm sitting there going, because we all judge people. Listen, I'm not trying. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know, this person, but then you bring them on and you have no expectations or hopes. And all of a sudden the person has $1 million escrow in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're like crushed.
Yeah. Like, what? You know why? Because they're just doing the work. That's why. They're following the program, what we set out for them. We call it a redshirt program. Go back to sports, right? Because that's hey, you got a redshirt for you get on the field, right? And that's what we call it. Our first 90 days.
Yeah. My favorite moment with one of my agents on my team is, we do the same things, right? Like, these are things you need to do. We try to coach him up on that kind of stuff. And like, she had a light bulb moment, right? And so we're sitting there in like a one-on-one, and she's like, I realized something. Like, what's that? The more calls I make, the more homes I sell. And we're like, we like kind of chuckle. We're like, what do you mean? She's like, well, like, no, the more calls I make, the more people I talk to. And then like, I go on more appointments and I'm selling more houses. And like, that's the difference between like before I was on the team, or like from before when I wasn't on the team, and now when I'm on the team, like, I'm making way more calls and I'm selling way more houses. And we're like,
weird.
That is true. That is true. But it's sometimes just that basic, right? And like, I think people try to make real estate into this like convoluted, like, process. And the secret to success is super, super difficult. And it's like, no, literally, you just need to talk to more people that you know and don't know. And that's real estate's going to come up and you can help them. Right. So yeah.
Yep. It's a math, it's a math equation. That's all it is, right? It's
for sure,
literally what it is. Yeah.
Well, so how big is your team now? How many agents do y'all have and staff and things like that?
So right now we have all in with residential agents. I think we're at 23. Now that includes some people who are on, everyone comes on the team with the best intentions, right? At least our team. We're not trying to like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to sell one house. Oh, come on. No.
Yeah.
That's not the
Yeah. Yeah.
best. You
Yeah.
should probably go somewhere else because it's not the best fit. But they'll come on the best intentions. And then something may happen, right? Hey, it's not working. I like the team, but I'm just not, cut out for it or whatever. Or maybe I met Mr. Right or Mrs. Right and I don't have to work anymore, that kind of thing. That happens, right?
Sounds
That's
nice. Yeah.
yeah, no doubt. But that happens. So we have 6 or so agents that are in that mode, and that's fine. As long as they're good for culture in terms of their
Yeah.
personality and follow core values, then we're good. So we have probably about 20, I think 23. So that means we have about 17 that are like really trying to give a go at this. And some people are a little more seasons. We have some newer agents as well that are still in the process of trying to get their career launched off the ground. And so we're trying to help them get to that point. We also have 4 agents that are on a commercial division.
Nice.
It's called Cook Commercial Partners. My sister actually runs it out of Chicago. We have 2 agents there. It's like an expansion. And we have 2 agents on the team in Scottsdale here in the office. And so our team supports them operationally.
Gotcha.
And they run the sales side of their business. And from the marketing standpoint, we run all that stuff with them.
Yeah.
The back office. And then we have 4 staff. And then
That's pretty lean.
Yeah, 4 staff, but we do have some virtual assistants
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
We have 4 virtuals as well that are awesome.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes, I'll talk to people that are like, oh, I just started my team. I'm like, oh, awesome. What does it look like? Like, oh, I have 3 agents, a director of operations, a marketing director, a transaction coordinator, and a, so-and-so. I'm like, wow.
You better be selling. Every
Yeah.
agent better be killing it.
Yeah.
Right?
So I always find it interesting because we've tried to run as lean as possible, and just actually started hiring VAs as well over the past year, just to better leverage some of the activities and things like that. So
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
been
Some
good.
people believe in the VA thing all the way through and through, and some people, I know an agent right now I can think of right now that runs a team, and it's a pretty good sized team, and all the admin except for like him and his wife are virtuals.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not me. I'm going to always have some people. I think there's a lot of value there, but I do think there's plenty of activities that VAs could effectively do and support.
Yeah, I definitely think there's pros and cons to both. I like having people in office, right, for the agents to go and pop in and ask a question. I like, if there's things that need to happen on the ground, right? Like if someone's in another state or in another country, you can't have them, or I guess they could hire someone to go do it, but like you can't like, hey, go run and pick up this lockbox, or can you go open this door or meet the seller to pick up this key at their office, type of stuff. So
Yeah.
having boots on the ground is always helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we need to switch gears because we've talked about teams basically this entire time. What would be a book or podcast or something like that you would recommend to agents read or listen to or consume?
My number one book, my favorite book, is called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yes.
Love that book. Like
Love it.
it applies to so many things, investing, obviously, as well as the real
Yeah.
estate business or anything you do, any activities you do. But I don't think people really understand the power of compound interest and therefore compounding anything for that matter. But interest, especially, it's outstanding. So that's my number one book that I always want agents to read. The number one book we always in our redshirt program, for example, in month 1, we do have a book a month. They're supposed to read for the first 3 months. The number one book in that first month is called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount.
Yep.
Who's awesome. And that book is, you got it right there?
I don't, so I moved my books because we moved offices. So I don't have Fanatical Prospecting on this shelf, but it's definitely in the office.
Yeah. It's awesome. I first got the book based on the title. I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I know that's going to be about, right? Not a big deal. But then you read it and it's so much more than just what you think it is based on the title. So much more. And it gets your mindset right. For sure. So
Well,
those are 2.
What are the other books that they read during their 90-day red shirt?
Oh, The One Thing.
Okay.
By Gary Keller.
Yep.
I think people need to focus on just that. And the other one I believe is it's Go for No.
Okay.
Go for No.
I really like The One Thing. I've read that actually a couple times. I feel like the there are so many good takeaways. Like I feel like every single chapter, I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I'm gonna highlight that. Oh, I'm gonna underline that. And every time I read a book again, right, I have different takeaways. So that's one that I feel like always gets me focused back in, right?
Yep. Yep. I'm big on like we have an Audible account
Yeah.
and for the team that we have access to as well. And so, I'm getting one of those books, once a month on anything from real estate sales to personal development to leadership to investing.
Yeah.
Those are like the big four core things that we have that thing full of, right? So there's some good ones in there that I just love. I mean, books are the key. If there's a key to success in life, right? The success in life, they're books, right? They're books.
So back to the athletics question, because I'm looking at all these medals sitting over your shoulder here. Are those all Ironman medals?
Yeah, those are all Ironman medals.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How many Ironmans have you done?
6.
Like full on Ironman, like full.
Well, to be told, not all of them are full.
Okay.
Some of those are halves.
But
Some of those are
like, tell me
halves.
what's in the half again.
So a half is a 1.2-mile swim in open water.
Okay.
And then you go to a 56-mile ride on the bike, and then you do a half marathon
And
at
a
the
half
end,
marathon.
13.1 miles. Yeah.
Casual. He's like, oh yeah, gosh, I'm sorry. I can only, a few of them are halves. It was a casual Saturday for me, just popped over
Oh.
and did a half Ironman.
It's crazy too, because I played, like I said, I played everything that was sprinting, right? In sports in high school and college, football and track and baseball, baseball not already, but basketball, whatever. And so like doing all these, like in track, I was a 400 at the most. Otherwise I'm the
Yeah.
one, the two. And so doing long distance was something I never have done. So this was pretty cool. It's like a midlife crisis. Some people buy Porsches, and they're getting into midlife crisis. I do Ironmans, right? So this was awesome. The fact that you can, with this taught me, which you already like know, but then when you actually you experience it, is how powerful the mind is. Just how powerful the mind is, because I never thought I could do some of these things, and yet I'm still like, hold on a training run, you just went and rode 4.5 hours on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a training run. Yeah, I did. I never thought I would do that either, right? But
Yeah.
it just happens, and that's what's so great. And I would say this, I know you recently had a birth of a child, so you understand what that is. I don't understand it like a woman does, clearly, but it's the coolest. When my 3 kids were born, like every single one, the first, I don't know, like 15 seconds, I'm sitting there going, I can't even talk, right? Like, what just happened, right? This thing's like crying now. I'm like, what in the world? It's the most surreal thing. But I will say this, outside of that, the first minute after finishing an Ironman, 2 minutes is just like, you can't explain it. It's just the elation. You're so exhausted you can't even. But like, it's just weird internal.
You can't explain it because you literally aren't capable of forming words. It's actually why you can't explain it.
You can't, literally. It's so I would challenge anybody, if you just want the coolest feeling in the world outside, like close to that, that's the next best thing I could explain. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, it's a good thing I've had a kid, so now I don't have to do an Ironman. I think is what you're saying. I believe if I understood what you're saying correctly, I think that's what you meant.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't have to do one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have the tattoo? The Ironman tattoo?
I don't. I kind of draw the line there, right? I'm cool with tattoos. I have a lot of natural tattoos. I got a lot of scars, but no. I got the shirts and the medals. That's good enough. I'm not gonna put the tattoo on.
I just feel like probably like 85 to 90% of people that have done an Ironman have the Ironman tattoo.
Exactly, and for that reason, I cannot do it.
Okay, so you're a contrarian, is what you're saying.
I'm kind of, yeah, a little bit. Do things on the sneak,
Yeah. All right. So you have I'm all over the place today, but I feel like I'm bringing it back to where I wanted to go. So, all right. You said that you have your red shirt program, 90-day kind of probationary. You got to read books. You got to do things. For someone either doing that program or for someone that's just getting started in real estate, what advice would you give to them of like, here's the nugget that like would be the key to your success?
Consistency. Like just show up, and ideally show up. Don't just rely on yourself in your own house where you have the refrigerator, the TV, and everything else. You might be able to get by on a couple days, no problem. Everyone could, but over a period of time, don't do that. Just be consistent, and you will see you will see like the hockey stick curve. It just will happen. I tell people all the time. See, the expectation for most people that get into real estate is if you draw the old XY axis, right? From back in geometry class, in ninth
Yeah.
grade, and you plot yourself on 0.0, 0, 0. That's where you're at when you first start in real estate. And then
Yeah.
what I do for anybody who's new is I'll take my pen and I'll draw a 45-degree angle straight from that 0, 0. And then because on the bottom is time, put 5 years down there, it doesn't matter, whatever. On the vertical axis, it's money. And then I'll draw that 45-degree angle. And I'll say, do you think that's how your career should go when you get in real estate? And everyone says, well, yeah, I mean, it should, yeah. I go, that's incorrect. That's wrong. That's not how it's going to go.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is you're going to start off at 0, 0, and you're going to just inch up a little bit along the first year or two. And then eventually you hit your 3, you hit the top of the hockey stick, right? And then you hit your 4 or 5 maybe. And then all of a sudden the stick goes and you start, it's like a rocket ship taking off. And then when you draw it, what's crazy is there's this little section in between the 45 and the hockey stick line. And that is what I call the quitting zone. That's the quitting zone.
Yeah.
That's where expectations don't meet reality for 99.9% of all people get in the business. And they say, this is not what it should be like. I'm working 6 days a week and I'm making what the person down the street who's maybe just, has no cares in the world and just works, 40 hours and they go home. But the reality is you're building a foundation if you're doing it right. And so if you just stay consistent and show up even on days where you don't feel like it, and you show up and do what you're supposed to do in terms of the amount of contacts, opportunities, however you want to, define your system, then it will pop. It will pop like a dam breaking, right? It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. Showing up especially when you don't want to or don't feel like it is the biggest thing for me.
No doubt.
Because I mean, there are so many days that you get up and you're just like, this is not what I want to be doing, right? Especially on those Saturdays and Sundays.
Yep.
But that's, I think, when it matters even more, right?
Yep.
For
And I
sure.
tell it's like, man, you know what? It's only for a finite period of time because eventually, if you do this correctly, you're going to have a database that's going to kick off consistent business, i.e., referrals and repeat clients, and it will. And so you should be able to then wake up one day and say, okay, for the last 12 months, what did it look like? Oh, I closed 48 transactions, all from a database. Cool. Then year 2, I closed 49. It's off by 1. Like for about 5 years for me now, past 5, maybe 6, actually 6 years, my numbers are almost in terms of what I choose to work with and close is very consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's off by 10 a year at the most, most. And in terms of plus or minus. So because, I've been doing this 18 years and without knowing what I knew, I built this database. But now if someone could take that from the get-go, which I never had, I was just like, I had an Excel spreadsheet and I just, I started with renters, Katie. I started with renters. When you had a listing back when I started in 05, if you were going to market it, you had to call the Arizona Republic newspaper. And that was your marketing. And the biggest ad you can do, the better for the client and blah, blah, blah. Well, I couldn't afford any of that. I was making $800 a month as a graduate assistant coach at Ole Miss. I was making nothing. And so I couldn't do. So someone's like, hey, look, why don't you try the rental section? Because there's no competition for ads in the rental section. So I'm like, good idea. Well, I couldn't do Sunday because that was more expensive. So I did Saturday, minimum 3 lines, $40 on a Saturday. And it said literally for a free list of rentals in Scottsdale, call Kelly. Here's my number. That's what it said. And people started calling. And the whole process was, thought process was, if they're going to rent something in Scottsdale, because Scottsdale's a little more affluent than part of Phoenix, then they're probably not lifelong renters. So they're probably looking to buy at some point in the future.
Down the road.
And so, so if I can get in on the renter side, keep in touch with them for 12 months, maybe I'll have some people looking to buy some sort of, consistent pipeline in the future. And I did a pretty decent job, but like if I would have had a coach or someone that hold me accountable, I would have done a way better job because I was all, everywhere.
But I mean, I think that's one of those things that like you were going to figure it out, right? I mean, I did a ton of rentals my first year. A lot of those clients then came back to rent again or came back to buy, right, at a later date. Mm-hmm. What do y'all do, now that you have a large team and or you personally to stay in touch with your past clients and sphere and your people?
Oh, you ready for this? This is good.
I'm ready.
I'm gonna break it down. This is some meat and potatoes. I'm from Nebraska originally, right? So I like my meat and potatoes. So this is what. Here we go. We have. I think it's. Ooh, I don't even want to say because it could. I'll add up at the end. Here we go. Number one, we do 3 calls a year. Once every 4. One call every 4 months.
Okay.
In between the calls of those 3 calls, you can do one slide dial, but not a broadcast. Just you're still calling. Hey, Robert, how you doing? This is Kelly. Just thinking of you. Right. So it's still personalized.
Yeah.
But not 2 in a row. So every 4 months, 3 calls. Every 3 months, a handwritten note. Okay. A handwritten note, reaching out to the client, just saying, thinking of you, how you doing? We have these stickers I got one right here that says I'll read it for you. My business is built on your referrals by earning your trust. And so because I got tired of writing that, and so I just made a sticker. And so it's like subtly like putting it on the little handwritten note saying that, hey, if you got any referrals, let me know. But it's not like in their face. Keep in touch because no one throws away. I mean, well, people throw it away. I'm sorry, but there's no spam box for a handwritten letter, right? So we do that. That's 7. Then we have a video email that goes to the entire database of the team. That goes out once a month. So a video email on some sort of topic locally, not locally in the real estate industry. It's going on. Then we do 12 times a year, once a month, a regular email that is our monthly newsletter. On that newsletter, we put things about what's going on with our team. They can see we're real, we're human, we're selling houses, we're doing community events, charity events, etc. And we put in the most recent economic data for what's happening in the greater Phoenix metro area. Like from our local economists here, you can subscribe, you pay money for it, you get these graphs, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of visual stuff, which is cool. We put that all in there and some people can geek out on that. That's 24 plus 7, right? That's 31. And then on top of that, everyone in the database should be on a e-alert, we call it. Now we use Sync. That's our database our CRM that we use. It's okay. It's okay. We're thinking about maybe actually switching at some point here, but it's a big undertaking with a large team. But nonetheless, no matter what you have, we send out an e-alert. Now what that basically is a automatic search from our database, not the MLS. So whether they're a past client, a potential seller, buyer, whatever it may be, they're on some sort of automatic alert from whatever we think is the most relevant data being sent to them for the area around their address that we have or the area of town they're looking in if they're out of state.
Yeah.
So that's once a month as well. Now, the beautiful thing about those 3 once a month emails is that they're on 3 different email clients.
Okay. So one's from the CRM, one's from
bingo.
BombBomb probably, and then one's from.
Yep. So that way, if they unsubscribe, they're not unsubscribing on all of them. And the holy grail is like the alert, the auto alert from the CRM. That's the one you really don't want them. So that one has to be monthly, unless of course they're an active buyer. Then you want it weekly or daily or whatever. But that's what we do. So that's 36 right there. And then the handwritten notes, 36 plus 7, that's 43. Then we do a Father's Day card, a Mother's Day card, a birthday card, and home anniversary card throughout the year also. That's 4 more. So that's 47. And then we have 3 client appreciation events throughout the year. So that's 50.
And I would even say that the client appreciation events is more than 3 touches, right? Because you're inviting them, you're following up on the invite, you're seeing them there, you're thanking them for coming, so you're probably hitting them 4 or 5 times just for the events, right?
Yeah. And that's through like email primarily, but we're supposed to be calling. Now, that's the great thing about the client events. We do 3 coincided with the 3 phone calls because that's your excuse to call if you're like feel weird about just calling to say hi, thinking of you.
Yeah,
that's your excuse. Hey, we got this coming up. It could be in 3 months. It doesn't matter, right? And we'll more details to follow. Look in the mail for being look for the mail or email, etc. Blah blah blah. Right, that sort of thing. So it works out. Really. The handwritten note could be that too. So yeah, but ultimately it's probably a little more than 50 because of that. Yeah.
How much of y'all's business is past client or referral? Like what percentage?
That's by far our largest. Right now, I think last year I want to say it was like 55%.
Yeah.
So I wish it was like 90, but and we're actually still always learning. We're getting ready to put some new stuff into play to be a little more thoughtful about that. But yeah, about 55%, a little over half.
Well, I'm sure what happens is it probably increases, but then the amount of homes you're selling also increases.
Yeah. So it's like never-ending fighting battle.
Yeah, it stays around the same. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna hit you with one last question. I feel like I may already know the answer. So, if it were your last meal on Earth, what would you be eating?
Oh, see, I think I know where you're going with this, but it's actually not what you think. It would literally
I feel
be
like before you answer, I feel like you are shooting a YouTube video. You know, like you're like trying to hook me in. You're like, we're gonna talk about Kelly Cook's last meal, and it's not what you think. Stay tuned for more.
stay tuned for
Anyways,
more. There you go. No, definitely. I do love a good steak. I had a feeling that's what you're going, but it's not. It's actually hard shell beef tacos.
ground beef,
Except ground beef, the best.
dude.
Hard shell
My
ground beef
husband
tacos.
makes fun of me because there are some things like I'm a like go eat a ribeye or go eat like a fancy steak, but then there are some meals that like I do love a good hard shell ground beef taco.
Oh, I mean, Taco Tuesday in my house is like I get a little upset. I'm not lie. If like my wife switches it up a little bit, and there's not, I'm expecting tacos on Tuesday, right? If there's no, even if we have kids practices, doesn't matter. I still would love to
Yeah.
have some taco. I love it. I love it. And cornbread too with it, some honey. Whew.
Wait, with the tacos?
Yeah,
I
not like at
don't
the same time. That's like a little dessert, but cornbread on the side. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
as
You
your
need to try it.
dessert to your tacos?
100% with some honey.
Is that part of Taco Tuesday or that's
It
just
is.
some it's
No,
just an okay, so that is a staple.
that's a staple of Taco Tuesday.
I feel like
I'm
those
telling you.
2 aren't like
Yeah, but they are. I don't know. It's weird, but they are.
I mean, cornbread's an anytime thing for me. I would eat cornbread. Funny enough, I actually ran home today to grab something from the house, and my nanny was there, and she wanted to make cornbread. And I was like, "Oh, hey, did you end up baking?" And she was like, "No, I didn't." I was like, "Oh, that's too bad," you know, and just didn't really think much of it. She goes, "Turns out cornstarch and cornmeal are not the same things." I looked at her, I was like, "They're definitely not the same thing." She's like, "Well, I just saw corn, so I was gonna make cornbread," and then I got home and went to put together all the ingredients, and it wasn't what I
Yeah,
thought.
that would have
It's like,
sucked.
well, glad you didn't make cornmeal or cornstarch bread. But
Yeah.
anyways, I'm definitely gonna have to try out the corn bread and honey with my tacos the next
Mm,
time I have it because I've never done that before.
I'm telling you,
But
little butter and honey.
I
Yep.
mean, yeah, butter and honey on anything is top notch. But
True.
Kelly, if someone does not follow you on social, where would they find you?
Instagram at Kelly Cook Homes. We're on TikTok at Kelly Cook Homes as well. Facebook is Cook and Associates, Real Estate Advisors. And so, but the big one that we love is YouTube. That's everything Phoenix.
Everything Phoenix.
Hmm.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, I appreciate you and all of your insight today. Wish you nothing but success and can't wait to see you again sometime soon.
Oh, for sure, Katie. Thank you so much. It was an honor.